So they had the big argument over the vaccine mandates at the Supreme Court. And you know why we're against the vaccine mandates, which we're with progressive professor, Marxist professor Richard Wolff. From a worker's perspective, we're against it. I'm also against it because of the science. And we'll get into that during this segment. But so they argued it, and here's the headline. Sotomayor falsely claims over 100,000 children are in serious condition due to COVID. Boy, if only Katie Couric were still around to edit out Justice Sotomayor's problematic statements like she did for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Wouldn't that be nice? Mm-hmm. But she's not around to do it. And so now we get to hear her give medical misinformation on the Supreme Court. That's what, this is what she said. We have hospitals that are almost at full capacity with people severely ill on ventilators. We have over 100,000 children, which we've never had before, in serious condition, many on ventilators. None of that's true. That's all fake. Because that's all fake. In fairness to Justice Sotomayor, the people are being hospitalized with COVID. It sounds a lot like because of COVID. But it's with COVID, which is different. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, there have been 82,843 children ages 0 to 17 admitted to the hospital with COVID since August 1st, 2020. That's the total number of children who went to the hospital and tested positive for COVID, but with COVID. They weren't in the hospital because of COVID necessarily. Here's Fauci. He's going to explain it. If you look at the children who are hospitalized, many of them are hospitalized with COVID as opposed to because of COVID. What we mean by that, if a child goes to the hospital, they automatically get tested for COVID and they get counted as a COVID hospitalized individual. When in fact, they may go in for a broken leg or appendicitis or something like that. So it's overcounting the number of children who are hospitalized with COVID as opposed to because of COVID, said Dr. Fauci. That's what Dr. frickin' Fauci said. Sotomayor, anyway, so you can see how she could get that wrong. Hospitalized for COVID or hospitalized with COVID, but she still got the number wrong. She said 100,000 when it was, and so she should be deplatformed. That's what I'm saying now. She should be deplatformed. She got the number wrong. Hey, I have an idea. Why not just say that 82,000 kids have COVID and not mention the hospital at all, since they aren't related, according to Dr. Fauci? Kids that they're not kids having COVID and being hospitalized for COVID. There's no connection almost to it, says Dr. Fauci. So maybe we stop fucking saying that. And thanks for clearing that up, Dr. Fauci, by the way. And by doing that, you made Sotomayor look like a complete asshole. Sotomayor is so insanely wrong, I'd be in danger of being suspended for spreading misinformation for quoting her if Twitter ever banned anyone for spreading panicky COVID stories in this direction. But they don't, so we're good. So what she's saying is it's okay to misinform in this direction, but if I said something in the other direction that was wrong, I would be deplatformed. But you can lie all you want if it fuels the narrative that Big Pharma wants. And she's exactly right. The real number of children that are hospitalized due to COVID is under 4,000, which they could have just said that. Right. But that wouldn't strike the fear of science into the heathen deplorables. Right? They could have just said that. They don't say that. Okay, let's keep going. If left uncorrected, this is a guy named Tom Fitton. I don't know who this guy is. He says, Judge Sotomayor will wildly inaccurate statement about children and COVID will undermine public confidence in the integrity and diligence of the court. The Supreme Court or Justice Sotomayor herself should issue an immediate correction. I happen to agree with that guy. Yeah. What do you mean will undermine, right? He said that COVID and will undermine. Hey, man, relax. She just spread misinfo on a mainstream news show. It's not like it was on a relevant platform like Joe Rogan. That's why it's so much worse for misinformation to be on Joe Rogan, because Joe actually has an audience. Here's another tweet. This guy, Nicholas, he says, while singling out... so there's a news report. So CBS does a news report on the hearing about the mandate. And while singling out Justice Gorsuch for not wearing a mask, they did that. At the vaccine mandate hearing today, CBS Evening News completely omitted Justice Sotomayor spreading COVID misinformation. They didn't do anything about her spreading that misinformation. Hey, but maybe Justice Gorsuch only saw the first Tony Fauci interview, where Tony Science said not to wear masks. Maybe that's why Gorsuch didn't have his mask on. Maybe he only saw that first Tony Science. We call him Tony Science over here now. Tony Fauci. So, again, the establishment news media is constantly misinforming you and scaring you in the one direction and lying to you only in one direction about COVID. We've showed you where they've lied about child COVID, the numbers at NBC News. Those videos are still up on YouTube. They'll never be censored. So you can lie. If your lie benefits the bottom line of Big Pharma, you can lie. And but if you tell a truth that cuts into it, you're on thin ice, pal. Hey, come see a live Jimmy Dore show. We're in Los Angeles, January 7th and 14th. Then we're in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Philadelphia. Go to JimmyDoreComedy.com for a link for all tickets and become a premium member to get access to all our premium videos.